It's Mac. Welcome back. Episode 28 of Icebreaker, and AJ with a late push on the Movember.
Yeah, I just shaved actually. It's coming. I had a good last week. I'll say that much.
There's no question. Before we get into it, just want to say that episode 28 is presented by Safe Work Manitoba, and take the guesswork out of it and visit safemanitoba.com for everything you need to know. You watched the Tyson fight.
A lot of people watched the Tyson fight. A lot of people are mad that they paid money to watch the Tyson fight.
Are you one of those people?
I didn't pay any money to watch the Tyson fight. I watched it on Twitter on somebody else's TV.
Well, there you go.
You know what? It was what it was. They only charged $50 for it, and there were good fights on the card.
Yeah.
The Tyson fight was just a bunch of clenching. You know, they were just tied up most of the fight, but I don't know what anybody really expected.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want, right? They're coming up. It's a Legends fight, and I was looking at it. I'm happy that it ended in a draw. I was thinking it would be a draw unless someone actually got knocked out. They're going to just do a draw, split decision.
It was the cut. They said if anybody got cut, that's what I was worried about, was somebody just, pop it open on a cheek or something. And then, but no, they went the distance. I think that's really cool. I think the only people who are really mad about it being a draw bet money.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it's your fault, that's an exhibition. I don't think Nate Robinson had a good night. That KO was brutal. Jake Paul's the real deal.
I saw that, and you see that there's some hockey players calling him out now.
Who are calling out who?
Jake Paul. Robin Leonard, goalie for the Vegas Golden Knights. Vander Kane, San Jose Shark. You calling him out?
You know what? I'd pay the 50 if it was Evander Kane taking on Jake Paul. That's a fight I'd watch.
But you're right. That knockout was something else. It was like a real fight.
It kind of made the whole night. It wasn't, and it was, what did they say? It's Paul's second fight. It was Robinson's first ever time doing it. He looked lost in the ring.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I never like to see somebody get knocked out. I'm glad he's okay. He said he was okay, so that's good. Yeah. But I mean, that was something. You see any of the NFL today?
I watched quite a bit of the NFL today, actually. Namely the Titans stomping on the Colts a little bit.
Yes.
Oh my! They take over the division now because of that.
Yeah, and you see those 49ers of mine somehow beat the LA Rams.
The last second field goal. That's how you need to win those games at this point. How many guys are on the IR?
13. 13, and they still got it done.
I liked how salty the 49ers players got about the Baltimore COVID situation.
Yeah.
And, they said they moved the game. Okay, it's from Thursday to Sunday. Now it's Sunday to Tuesday. And the 49ers went, oh, I guess we just played ours.
Yeah. No, I know. And did you see what happened with the Denver Broncos quarterback situation?
Is that the silliest? And that game got played on time.
I know.
No delay whatsoever. I'm not even going to remember the wide receiver's name who stepped up to play quarterback.
Practice squad.
1 for 9 with 2 picks.
I know. I couldn't even watch. I just had it on Red Zone, and they were like flashing to it, and it was like, oh boy.
If we're giving our own team shout outs, Brandon Wilson with the Cincinnati Bengals, 103-yard kickoff return, set a franchise record.
Saw that. Right up the gut too, hey? Just right up the gut.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool.
And big shout outs before we wrap up with the NFL. Derrick Henry and Tyreek Hill, beasts. I was watching a guy in my fantasy league play Tyreek Hill. He had 40 points in the first half.
Yeah.
Fantasy points. It was ridiculous.
Beast. And I just want to take this time now to say that I'm suspending myself from Manitoba Building Trades hot takes for the foreseeable future here, as everything I touch turns to coal. So we're going to pass that off onto you, and you got the floor.
Yeah, I'm not a hot take kind of guy, but this week, and I hope you're going to vote, and we're going to talk about it in a second, the hot take, I'm going to let you do all the reading, is that I'm going to beat you, Mac, in the mustache growing contest that we're about to talk about.
Well, it's a good thing that I didn't say that I was going to beat you, because I know that wouldn't have been right. So at least this time I have a fighting chance. But the Manitoba Building Trades Hot take, it's not just any project, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. It's about building something great for Manitoba. That's why you turn to the talent and craftsmanship of Manitoba's expert tradespeople. Manitoba Building Trades is Manitoba's unionized construction industry. Productive labor is our business. With over 10,000 skilled trade professionals, we build what others can only imagine. Visit mbtrades.ca and come build with us. Wow, I'm getting good at that.
Good read. It's a good read. Tell us how to vote. We both grew a mustache for November. We raised a couple $100. And now we've got a little side bet going on. What's happening?
So tomorrow, or today, I guess, as you're listening to this, if you're listening on Monday, on November 30th, we will be posting a picture of both our mustaches on our Twitter account at Icebreaker Show with 2 W's on Twitter, and we will have you vote to who's grown the best mustache over the course of November. And the person who does not win will be adding an extra donation to our team total that we've worked on. So, and still, if you can, if you're listening to this on November 30th and you are able to donate, we do appreciate that. And if you can, spare a couple bucks here and there, everything helps. And we're fundraising in support of men's mental health, which we both think is pretty important, not just for men at this time, but for everybody, going through COVID together.
Yeah, it goes through Movember Canada, but all the donations end up coming back here, and they go to support a lot of cool mental health programs. And it's getting people to talk, and it's getting people to just, like you said, man, we're all pent up right now, and everybody just needs to admit, hey, it's time to let loose, and you got to let loose every now and again. I don't know if that made any sense, but mental health is a huge discussion that's coming up in the next year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And continuing on with the donation, the Winnipeg Ice have launched a virtual teddy bear toss this year with all the funds going to the Children's Hospital Foundation Child Life Program, which essentially all the money will be used to purchase teddy bears or comfort items for children in the hospital during Christmas time.
It's very cool. I like to think that when you guys drop off the donations, that the people receiving them, you got to throw the teddy bears. You got to throw them.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I mean, from
how
our
much-
perspective, right? Last year, the teddy bear toss game was super fun. Tons of bears, right? And it's a cool environment that really you only see in junior hockey. And what happens is after a team scores their first goal of the game, the ice gets flooded with bears. And obviously, you can't do that this year, unfortunately. But still, the next best thing. And I think I checked earlier today, and it was closing in on $2,000 already in 3 or 4 days, which is great. So if you're able to donate to that, there's a link on the ICE social pages wherever you follow them.
I read that $20 gets a bear, essentially.
$20 essentially equates into a comfort item for a child who very much deserves it during their stay.
Very cool stuff. 2,000 already. That's good.
Yeah, it's going well. And then you and I were talking after the Tyson fight. What is your favorite athlete or top 3 athletes who have retired that you would like to be able to, or you would have liked to be able to see in their prime?
Yeah, that was the big conversation about Tyson and Roy Jones. It was a dream matchup. If it would have been in their prime, it would have been explosive.
Yes.
And so picking top 3 athletes, we're going all sports. In tradition here, I'm actually going to pick 2 players for my first pick. It's just because I was kind of old enough and I wasn't really into basketball as much as I am now. I wish I would have been more cognizant when Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were playing together. Just that dynamic duo was so fun to watch in highlight clips. I wish I would have been a part of that.
And you know what? I knew you were going to take that first overall, so I didn't even write it down. It wasn't even on my list because I knew it was gone. But
big Jordan guy over here. Yeah.
After watch The Last Dance once, big Jordan guy.
Come on.
No, for my first pick, I've turned into a big soccer guy lately, just living with a European for 4 years through college. But, in light of his passing, Diego Maradona, I think would have been pretty spectacular to see in his prime.
I agree with that pick because I wasn't very familiar with who it was, and it exploded on Twitter. the day that he passed. And so you get to watching old clips and you don't even realize there's this superb athlete out there in the world that I didn't even really know existed. I can't be alone.
Yeah.
So that's a
And there's a
solid pick.
fantastic documentary on him on Crave, or it's HBO, or it's something that I've seen. I saw a while back, but it's good if you haven't seen it.
Right on. Pick number 2 from the NFL. I was just too young to have seen Barry Sanders in
Yeah.
his absolute prime. And you watch him in highlight reels, he cut through entire teams of football players.
And that's a good pick. I'm staying in the NFL with my second pick, and I'm going to Joe Montana with the 49ers in the heyday. I would have loved to see that.
And you're talking 49ers Montana because he was good in Kansas
Yeah,
City, too.
49ers Montana.
My third pick, again, and I have a trend here that it's just, I was kind of young. I wasn't paying enough attention. I would just like to go back and see Mario Lemieux one more time
Mhm.
play at the top of his game.
Yep.
Skate circles around people, still hit hard. My favorite story about Lemieux is that when he used to get down in the center circle, when he used to take faceoffs, he would trash talk worse than anybody else in the league.
And I don't know, when we had James Patrick on the show talking about playing against Lemieux, he said that he would just let the other team center win faceoffs because he knew he would beat them every time. And then when he needed to win, if they're losing or something and he needed to win a big faceoff, then he just take it from them.
He's just playing with everybody. So
Yeah.
that's my third pick right there.
My third pick is, you see a lot of them still. He's still very relevant, but Jack Nicklaus. Everyone talks about how great of a golfer he was, and they had like no technology back then in golf.
Yeah.
So I think it would just be fascinating to see with the lack there of technology and distance, right? And how he still got the job done week in and week out.
You ever go and look and I apologize if you're older than the two of us, Mac. You ever go look at your grandpa's clubs, like the old set in the garage?
Yes,
There's just these wooden sticks. So
I
yeah,
know.
any of those old golfers, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, that's a pretty good pick.
Yeah. And then talking to Mario Lemieux, obviously was a World Junior player back in the day, but this week's guest on the show, Cam Moon, who is the play-by-play voice of the Red Deer Rebels, which was where Team Canada is holding their camp right now. It currently shut down due to a positive COVID test. But in talking with him, and you'll listen later later on the show, he's saying that Team Canada's team is going to be like that lockout team back in the day in Grand Forks.
Right. This is really cool. I'm actually looking forward to this. It's going to be the most unique World Juniors we've ever seen coming up
Yes.
around Christmas time. So it's going to be nice to get a little inside look into what Team Canada's up to.
And then, like you said, a unique World Juniors, right? No fans, and normally all the fans are, especially in Canada, right? It's just packed. NHL arenas are packed for Canadian junior players, which is awesome. But lots of great players in that camp, including ice captain Peyton Krebs, and we'll get to that right now. So, without further ado, joined by the voice of the Red Deer Rebels with probably one of the most electrifying goal calls in hockey play-by-play, Cam Moon. How's it going?
Yeah, going very well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're in Red Deer right now, and that's where the World Junior Camp is. We'll get to that in a sec. I mentioned that you're play-by-play for Red Deer, and just how did you get into that, and when did you get started with that?
Well, I came here in 98, so it's been a while now. I did 3 years in the BC Junior League with the Nanaimo Clippers before I came here. And before that, I was doing some television work through the winter with TSN on their WHL broadcasts, a little bit of OHL, a little bit of Quebec Major Junior at that time. I started that in my second year at school when I was at NAIT in Edmonton, where I'm from, and kind of got into it that way. I wanted to get a play-by-play job, so that's why I went to Nanaimo, and it's just sort of gone from there. So yeah, it's been a real fun ride. It's been great. I love junior hockey. I love the Western Hockey League. It's just so much fun, so professional. Great. We get to go great places, get to see a lot of great things. So I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah, and you can tell with the passion that you talk with while you're on the air. You said you've been there since '98, so obviously some good players have come through there since then.
Oh yeah, for sure. We've been very fortunate, and I mean, you go through every team and see that they've had guys that have gone on to great NHL careers. And here, Dion Phaneuf and Cam Ward, and Brandon Sutter, and Colin Fraser, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I mean, there's been a bunch of them that have come through and have done really well at the next level. But there have been a lot, and certainly this is the majority, that have gone through, have had, I would like to think, really good experience and have taken advantage of the education money and been able to go to school after and go to the University of Alberta or Calgary or Saskatchewan or Manitoba or whatever, and take advantage of that. And quite honestly, I get as much fulfillment in seeing guys access that and then talk about, especially when you talk to them after, what a great experience they had at Canadian University Hockey or wherever they go, that they had so much fun and that it was so good. So I love seeing guys go on to NHL careers. That's wonderful. I also like seeing guys go on and go to school after too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that, when they come into the Western League, most of them are 16, 17 years old and are trying to make it. And let's just talk for a sec about one of the players that you formerly had the chance to call games for, Dawson Bartow, who came over to the Winnipeg Ice organization. And there's not a better person out there than him.
No, he's right up there. Like, if you talk about guys that have come through here, like all-time great guys, he's definitely on that list. And the second we got Dawson, and we got Dawson via a trade. He was a first-round pick of the Regina Pats, and there was a trade made when Regina was hosting, and we sent a couple of older guys their way. They sent some younger players and draft picks our way. Well, one of the younger players was Dawson Bartow, and he came to us. It was about halfway through his 16-year-old year, and he was just a great fit because he's such a quality person. And I hope he has a great and very lengthy professional career. But however it goes and whatever happens, even when hockey's done for him, which hopefully will be 15, 20 years down the road, he's going to be a successful kid because just the way he is, the way he approaches things, the way he approaches life. We're really lucky to have him here. I felt very fortunate that we had him here. And he's about as good as it gets. So really excited to see what the next step is for Dawson Bartow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And he told me a funny story. He said that we were talking on the bus one day about chips and dip, and he said that you put them on the ketchup, chips, and dill pickle dip.
It's you look at it from the outside looking in, you're like, that's probably not a mix, but you give it a shot. Give it a shot, and it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know that it's for everybody, but I'm just saying, don't downplay it before you try it. That's what I'm saying.
You know what? I'll give it to you. I did try it, and it wasn't too bad, actually.
Not bad, yeah.
And it came up because I was having salt and vinegar chips in the French onion dip, and he right away told me about your ketchup chips and the dill pickle dip.
That's right. Now I want to try your concoction.
Try it.
Like I'll give that a go. Sure.
It's pretty good. Anyway, so you're in the World Junior, I guess, because Red Deer has a camp right now, so you're there,
yeah,
and you're covering it a bit. And right now it's on a little bit of a lockdown due to a couple positive tests. But what have you been seeing so far for the kids at camp?
Well, it reminds me of 2005 when Canada had everybody on board because of the lockout, and 1995 when it was right here in Red Deer, and I was here for that. I was the roving reporter for TSN back then, so I was actually running around the rink and getting some stuff done, and that was a lockout or strike or whatever the heck it was, at least until they got going again in January that year. Because this one, they've got everybody, with the exception of Alexis Lafreniere, who isn't here, and I'll say yet, because if the NHL doesn't get going in early January, I would think he's got a decent shot at being here. I would think anyway. That's just me thinking out loud. But everybody else is here, so the talent level is incredible, and it's a good thing that they made this a longer than normal camp. It's a bigger than normal camp, and you can understand why, because the Quebec Major Junior League was the only league that was going. The O and the Q have not, or the O and the Dub have not been playing. So to give these guys a little bit more opportunity when it comes to the camp. That definitely helps. But yeah, the talent level is very high. I think Canada's team is going to, whatever 25 guys they go with, is going to be very good. That's going to be the hard part. And I've said this before, I do not envy the coaches in this situation and having to cut this thing down, because there's a ton of first round picks here. There's like real top end players. I mean, you got Kirby Dach from the National Hockey League back for this. But yeah, Dach would be in the NHL right now. But I'd have to think guys like Quentin Byfield, Dylan Cousins, Connor McMichael, Bowen Byram, those guys might all be in the NHL if things were normal right now anyway. So it's going to be tough to cut this thing down.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. There's been 2 red and white games, right, so far?
Yeah.
And those were pretty top notch.
Yeah, they were. It was weird because there's nobody in the rink, but the level of play was very good. And I was able to watch a couple of days of practice prior to that too. So I got to see those teams practice on their own, and they still have some players that are not in the group, the NCAA guys and Ridley Gregg from the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Those guys, well, Ridley Gregg was still back in Lethbridge because he had tested positive. They had to wait for him to get healthy. He came back. He had only skated for 1 day here, but the NCAA guys had skated since the start, but on their own. So they haven't been infiltrated with the whole group. So that's another thing that, has to be put in there as well. So that makes it even tougher, quite honestly, because those are good players too.
And I have to ask, because, we're out of Winnipeg here. How's our buddy and 2-time guest of the show, Peyton Krebs, doing?
Peyton Krebs looked really good. What I like about Peyton Krebs' game is that he plays everything at a high pace. And in this, you have to. Because if you don't, you're not going to have time to make anything happen. You won't make anything happen. He's been making things happen. I've seen him in penalty kill situation. I've seen him in power play situation, and he's been good in both. And speaking of Winnipeg, I've also really liked Cole Perfetti, the Jets' first-round pick. He's been really good too. So both those guys, I think, stand a really good chance of making this club, at least in the limited viewing we've had so far of a couple of practices and a couple of games. I mean, things could change yet. But those guys have certainly put their best foot forward. I would say that they got a good shot.
And I was watching on social media just some of the highlights that people have been posting. I mean, there's the nice kind of backhand tip pass from Peyton that he had, but the one early on in camp from Kirby Dach.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Where he goes back between his legs with the stick and then kicks it over and puts it on a 2-on-1 with the back checker, and he puts it right on the tape. Like, I don't know how many guys could do that. I don't know how many would even try it, quite honestly.
Oh, I know for me that if I tried that, I would probably fall and take out the goalie. Oh. And I know you're a goalie guy. And so the goaltending situation, obviously there's some good goalies there. How's that shaping out?
Yeah, well, it's tough to say because they played the 2 games and they split the first game, and then the second game they had each guy play a whole game. So 2 guys have played a game and a half, and 2 have only played half a game.
Right.
So I wouldn't say the sample size is big, but in the limited viewing so far, this is what I would have to say. Brett Brochu of the London Knights has probably been the best so far, but he has played a game and a half. Dylan Garand of the Kamloops Blazers, New York Ranger draft pick. He's only played half a game, but he was perfect. He went 12 for 12 in his half a game. So what more can you do than what he was allowed to do? So and there's the Devin Levi, who's an NCAA goaltender who hasn't been in the mix yet. So of the 5, they're going to keep 3. Right now, I would have to say Brochu and Durand probably have the inside track, but they still have a ways to go, so lots could change.
And then finally, obviously, with your role with the Rebels, you do the play-by-play, and you get to see a lot of Western Leaguers on a nightly basis. What's it like to see kind of the best of the best of this age group all together, and especially those guys from the WHL?
Well, and it is nice because you can kind of gauge them now against the rest in our country. So like when you and I are watching WHL games, we know Bowen Byram's really good. So when the Vancouver Giants play the Winnipeg Ice or play the Red Deer Rebels, I mean, it's not that difficult to pick out Bowen Byram because he's going to be the best guy on the ice or darn close. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, on Sunday night when they played the second red and white game, Bowen Byram was the best guy on the ice with the best guys in Canada. So it gives you an idea where he sits. To me, he is so close to NHL ready. It's crazy. So he's a Colorado first rounder. When the NHL gets going, I wouldn't be shocked if he's playing in Colorado. So great to see that for him. But other WHL guys, obviously, Peyton Krebs, we've talked about him. He is impressed so far, which is great to see. Connor Zary from the Kamloops Blazers, first-round pick of the Calgary Flames. I thought he looked really good. On Sunday in particular, he was playing with Doc and Philip Tomasino from the Oshawa Generals. That was probably the best line. And Zary just plays like he's just so engaged and plays with just a lot of energy. And I thought he brought that to the party here. Dylan Cousins, who's a first-round pick of the Buffalo Sabres, Lethbridge Hurricane, got hurt in the game. He blocked the shot. So then that was on Sunday. So we didn't get to see much of him Sunday, but if you know how good he is, he's another guy that I think is incredibly close to being a National Hockey League player. And I thought he was really good in the days leading up, and then the game Saturday, and then the little bit of Sunday that he played. I would say he's a returning guy. He's going to be a top 6 player on this team. As will Kirby Doc, who isn't in the WHL right now. He's in the NHL, but he's a WHL grad with the Saskatoon Blades. So, yeah, on defense, it's going to be tough. Like to come up with, I think because of this year and with COVID and all that, they're going to take 8 defensemen. Normally, they would take 7.
Yeah.
To come down to the final 8, I think it's going to be tough. But the WHL guys have certainly shown well and will be in the mix, in the hunt for a spot. Byram is he's a returnee. He's a lock as far as the WHL defensemen go. But you got Damon Hunt from the Moose Jaw Warriors, Matt Robertson of the Edmonton Oil Kings, Caden Korzak from the Kelowna Rockets, Braden Schneider of the Brandon Wheat Kings. Schneider got hurt in that game Sunday too. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden he was gone. So we didn't see a ton of him in that game, which is unfortunate because I really like his game. But those guys, I mean, it's a pretty good group of defensemen from our league, but I think they all will at least garner a lot of consideration when they get down to the final 8.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be super exciting tournament. Like you said, one of the best Team Canada teams that we've seen in a long, long time. Undercover, which maybe most people didn't notice from the videos or the highlights that have been posted, but the seats look really good in Red Deer.
Oh, man. I can't tell you how different, wait till you come here because the videos, and those are great. I know we had put out like a promotional type video that shows the new building. And this building's been here since late 1991. So it's not new.
Yeah.
It's been here a while, but it had those bright green seats, which you can see from, I think, space. And these new ones look so good. They're more comfortable, first of all. They look a lot better. Oh, we got a new video scoreboard that is unbelievable, absolutely crystal clear. We've added a few more screens in the building outside of the video scoreboard on top of the suites, and then the one down on the end in the lounge. So it makes the rink look brand new, quite honestly. They've done a great job here of keeping things up. I know the sound system was probably 5 or 6 years ago. The boards and the glass were about 5 years ago-ish. The lights were, I think, about 6 years ago. So a lot of things have changed in the more recent past year, and it's really it's brought this rink up to speed with any of them in the league.
Yeah, excited to get there, and hopefully get to see you soon. But thanks for joining the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Well, that'll just about do it for episode 28 of Icebreaker. Once again, thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening. We really appreciate it. If you're able, please consider donating to our November fundraiser before the end of the month in support of men's mental health awareness. And if you can get us to our goal, I would gladly fire some pucks at AJ for everybody's enjoyment. So if you're able to, please donate. And I hope everybody has a great week, and we will talk to you next week.